Okay. Okay, so tonight is our photographic competition, and before we get down to the main business of the evening, just got a few announcements to make. Firstly, upcoming meetings. We've got just one more indoor meeting this season. That's going to be in a fortnight's time, and it's going to be the natural history of Upper Teesdale. We've got several outdoor meetings. The first of them will be to the New Forest this coming weekend on Saturday. So get in touch with me if you're interested in that. And then just check the website for future outings. They're mostly local walks to White Knights Park, Kennet Valley, Dinton Pastures, Jubilee River and the Downs. But on the subject of outdoor meetings, we want to try a new thing next season. So if people have got an interesting place near them which they regard as their local patch, get in touch if you'd like to show people around for just a short walk there. It won't be part of the outdoor program in the same way as all our other walks are, but it would be nice to for us to experience some new places in the area. So get in touch if you'd like to lead a short walk around your local area. We've also got a couple of the bird boxes left that Richard Sajak has made, really good quality. So get in touch with Sue Charnley if you're interested in one of those. Okay, we're moving on to recent records. What have people been seeing recently?
We've got a pair of firecrests in our garden for the very first time.
Wow, that's a pair of firecrests in a garden in Caversham. Fantastic.
Seen the Chetty's warbler at Langley Mead.
Right, Chetty's warbler at Langley Mead. Whereabouts is that?
That's Spencer's Wood.
Spencer's Wood. Okay.
I've seen them there before.
Lovely.
There was also a couple of willow warblers that would seem to be very early.
They are early. Yes, you've heard them singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good.
Oh, bullfinch.
And a bullfinch.
Wheat here at Greenham Common 3 or 4 days ago.
Okay, I think you've probably all heard that. Wheat here at Greenham Common. Yes?
Little egret between Pangbourne and Streetley on the Thames in a tree.
Okay, little egret, you said. Yeah, little egret on the Thames between Pangbourne and Streetley. The other birds that I'm aware of are redshank and little ring plovers coming into gravel pits in the area. A few sand martins have been reported already. There was a pintail today at Fobney Meadow. There's still bramblings around. There's still a white-fronted goose around. And there has been a glossy ibis at Fobney and white-tailed eagle, which was reported a fortnight or so ago over the Sandhurst area. Well, there's been another sighting at Coombe in the extreme west of the county. So, any more? If not, we'll move on. Okay, so as I say, it's our photographic evening tonight. We're very pleased to have 2 judges, our own Colin Wilson, but also Rob Still. And so welcome to them both. I'm going to hand over now to Colin, who's going to explain the procedure for the rest of the evening, and I can sit back and enjoy myself.
Only once you've sorted the screen out.
Oh.
What happens next? The way the competition will run is that we start by flipping through the, just a minute, Jane. We start by flipping through the photographs that we had so many entries, and thank you for those, but we can't judge everyone in detail. There are almost 200 entries. So we've had to out-select, Robert and I have had to out-select the ones that we want to talk about in more detail that are going to have the strongest chance of winning the prizes. So we're starting by showing you some pictures, many of the pictures that we've been unable to push into the final selections. Yeah, and Rob, can you contribute now? You?
Yes, certainly. Everyone hear me okay? I presume that you can.
Yes.
Yeah, to echo what Colin said, it's been incredible compared to last year, incredibly hard this year because the standard is has been so much higher and so much more consistent throughout. So very, very hard choice. Felt really bad about sort of dropping some, but a shortlist is a shortlist, and otherwise we'd be here all night and then people will be complaining anyway about that. But here's just a few of the ones we sadly turned down from our shortlist, which hopefully will give you an indication of how good the shortlist will be.
Yeah, so there's a variety of reasons why they may have been not got through to the final judging, and so it could be the way the picture is cropped, for example, that if you've got a brilliant bird image, but you've also got lots of other bits and pieces in the picture as well, which distracts the eye. Or another thing may be just something as simple as a blade of grass that is across the image, and makes it just slightly less attractive than many of the others.
I think that's the point, Colin, is it's quite subjective there, is that, you know, when you're up against so many shots that are pin sharp, even ones that are slightly out of focus will, you know, not be viewed in as a good a light as the ones that are pin sharp. So it's when you've got so many entries, there's always going to be a few that fall a tiny bit short, but that's not to denigrate the work and the effort that's gone into obtaining them.
And we have to say that actually when we were going through these, we came up with our own individual shortlists quite independently, and the lists were quite different. so then there had to be a degree of discussion and so on to sort them out.
Which is why I'm not there tonight, because at the moment Colin and I can't be in the same room.
But some of these birds, you know, they're fantastic, aren't they? I mean, they're birds that you might dream to see one day. And I think most of these, or a lot of these, I've certainly never seen, and they're pictures taken in other countries, obviously, many of them. That must have taken a bit of photography, that.
Yeah.
See, there's another aspect of photography that's worth bearing in mind, that sometimes an image is too big, it's too close. So if you get a tiny bird like a goldcrest and it absolutely fills the screen, then when you look at it, you don't see it as a goldcrest because it's too big. So you want to try and put the bird into its context.
And such a variety received, as we can see here. There's some, you know, shots in flight quite distant, and there's nice portraits like this common sand here, and so many different styles to choose from, which also makes it hard because there's no kind of objective criteria really for photography other than you know, the sharpness of the image, I guess, is really the only thing that's sort of semi-scientific. The rest gets incredibly subjective.
So you see a lot of these pictures, if I were using my camera, I would be very proud of. I'd be even more proud if I could identify all the birds.
You're okay with that one?
Yeah, I think I'll manage that one, yeah. I'll get that one, purple sandpiper.
Yeah, I think probably.
Are we? Is your hand aching? Yeah. So we're about halfway apparently.
Wow.
So you can see how many we had to sift through and select from.
I think either mallard or stonechat was probably the most common photograph bird. Oh no, maybe a little
Yeah,
egret.
there's quite a few egrets.
Yeah.
I can remember one of my pictures one time got through to quite a way in the judging. And I was so proud of it. It was a kingfisher and it was sitting on this fence and very nice reeds and everything behind it. But it was dismissed because it was on a barbed wire fence.
Oh.
And I always thought that was a bit disappointing. But
Well, maybe red kite's up there as well, actually, but that's not surprising, is it?
no, you get quite close to those, can't you?
In fact, just an aside on the, I'm not sure how far west ringneck parakeets are coming into Berkshire now, but I had a flock of 7 coming up to the probably about a mile west of the Maidenhead Junction, flying north-south. But that may not be notable for the area, but this is certainly the nearest ones to Basingstoke I've seen.
They're on the way.
That's the last one.
That's the last one. Okay, can we get this on to where we're going next then? On to the...
I think you might, right, okay, so.
Okay, right, so we're now going to start talking about... Yeah, so we're now going to start talking about the ones that we push through into the final selection. And this is the portrait section. Do you want to start, Rob, or do you want me to start?
No, I'm happy to start. I mean, yeah, I got a nicely composed shot of a gadwall here. Yeah, I really like this one because I'm a bit of a sucker for anything that's on water with reflections because it's just peaceful and calming. I think this one benefits as well from either by luck, by judgment. We'll assume it's by judgment to have that nice green reflection in the sort of top left-hand corner in the classic sort of 1/3 down and a sort of quarter in position, which is so loved by artists and graphic designers, which really holds the shot and is a nice juxtaposition for the rest of the image, especially the bird, which is, you know, composed of sort of browns and oranges. So yeah, a really nice shot, but up against some stiff competition, wouldn't you say, Colin?
Yes, undoubtedly, yeah. So what would your score be, Rob?
I'll go. We're going out of 5 this time, so I'll
Yes.
go middle for diddle and sort of say 3.5. Otherwise, I remember last year we went too high too soon, and then we were running out of space, weren't we?
Okay, so I admit that I really did like this picture. I thought it was a very attractive picture. I suppose that really, when you talk about a portrait of a bird, it maybe isn't quite close enough to be a portrait, but it is a very attractive picture for all the reasons that Rob said and all the colours. I would give that a 4. So now, if I can find a way to do this. Right. Okay, so this is a lovely portrait of a marsh tit, and it shows the bird absolutely beautifully. It's beautifully focused, spot on focus. It's a nice position in the frame. I think the only slight detraction from it might be the background with all the the branches and so on going off in all sorts of different directions and making a slightly less than perfect background to it, but it's absolutely super. So I think I would give that a 4.
Yeah, I would concur with that. It's just, again, it's just one of those unfortunate things, and the heretic in me would say, well, you could always Photoshop it out, but obviously we prefer natural images. But you can't sometimes be lucky enough with the branches and where the bird perches. In this case, that one coming out the top of the head and the one coming out the back, you know, detracts just ever so slightly from what is a fabulous shot and a fabulous portrait of a marsh tit. So, but I would go along with Colin. Yeah, that's definitely in the 4 zone for me as well.
Okay. So after you, Rob.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can you say? You can't really go wrong with falcons, especially ones that have got nice rufous on their sort of thighs and stretching down onto the undertail coverts. Great shot. And again, it probably highlights here the fussiness of us judges between the backgrounds, this background being that much clearer than the marsh tit. We've got a good contrast here of how you can really focus on the bird. And so it's a kind of classic portrait of a classic bird. Lovely eye shine. I'm pretty sure when I looked at it up close, it was pin sharp everywhere. The colors of the twig all match, really allowing the contrast of the head and the moustachial stripe and the rusty of the back end of the belly there coming through. So yeah, for me that's kind of a 4.5.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to find fault. I thought there was a tiny bit of softness in the image, but it is very hard to fault, and it is very nicely positioned in the frame. So it's balanced just fractionally to the left. So where it looks is just a tiny bit more space. So I would go along with 4.5 as well. But you can see how good you need to be. Right. Okay, so this, I love this. What is it? It's one of these swallowtail bee eaters. Yeah. And I love the picture, but this is one example of where there's too much in the picture around it, and it detracts from the bird itself. And if that picture had been cropped so that that bee eater was much more the focus of the picture and included some of these beautiful leaves, then I think that could have been very much a candidate for a winner. But you see, when you put your pictures forward, really you need to think about all these aspects and try to outthink what other people are going to feel about it. So I love the picture, but I couldn't go more than 3.5, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, with my kind of graphic design hat on, yeah, I think that the issue is the kind of block branch and leaves at the top right hand corner, which kind of keep taking my eye away from the bird. Because for me, the bird with the jagged tail feathers, the beak is kind of jagged, the angles are just fantastic. It's sitting on top of an angled sticky little branch as well, which again has got some real tension in that. And if you kind of crop right down and lost the twigs top left and top right and made that almost a square to sort of slightly portrait shot, just with a little bit of the greenery coming in above the beak there, and maybe a little bit just there, because that greenery really complements the green of the plumage, and the branch below complements the shape of the bird, then you'd have a really, really fascinating composition. So yeah, it's to fault something just because it's not cropped, not correctly or optimally is a little bit harsh. But I'll go a little bit higher than Colin. I think this is definitely worth a kind of 4.
I think the bottom twig spoils it. You could Photoshop that out, no trouble. Because you've got plenty of blank sky.
What's that?
Oh, we've got
someone else commenting here. Rob, your turn.
Yeah, again, I mean, similar to the situation with the marsh tit, and I think this is you know, for anybody that's looking to sort of take a step up in their photography, is these backgrounds are so crucial, with so many people taking so many shots of the species and coming up with fantastic poses. You move on to different criteria for sort of separating out what is great and what is kind of, you know, good. This is a really nice shot of a redstart. It shows everything you want to know about it, but the background is just a little bit messy and distracting, so it's kind of hard to focus on the bird, especially the messy twigs at the top left. I say nature is messy, and I'm not suggesting we should all be trying to Photoshop everything out left, right, and centre. But it's you know, consistently the great professional photographers always seem to manage out of their 17,000 shots of one bird to find the one that kind of really works. So fantastic shot of a redstart. And again, because of the background, you know, distracting, and the shadow under the tail kind of distracts me as well. I'm going to have to go, because I'm limited between 1 and 5, at a sort of 3.5 on this one.
Right, okay, well, I think I would like to be more generous than that, mainly because it's a lovely bird, and it is a lovely picture of a lovely bird, but for the same reasons really as Rob, the background is the problem in this image. So I'll be more generous. I'll go to 4.5.
I'm so harsh.
You are. Right, so here we've got a lovely goosander, and this is, well, it's a really nice image. I think it's probably just a tiny bit soft, not quite sharp at the most important points. It's very hard to see on the screen because it's obviously, there's a lot of distortion between the original photograph and the projection. I like it. I think it's probably a fraction bigger than I would think ideal, but I like the water as well. The photographers managed to capture the disturbance of the water really nicely. I would give that 4.5.
Yeah, I would concur. It's very hard to find fault. It's very hard to get wingtips in focus, especially when they're outstretched, except obviously this one's enough square on enough that depth of field doesn't need to be too great. But to be honest, sometimes if you get wingtips all in focus, that can also look wonky. But I really like this picture because for me, a portrait has to have a bit of character and a bit of intent. I guess I've been watching too much Portrait Artist of the Year, when you've got to go a little bit beyond the physicality of the creature or the human that you're portraying and try and get a bit of character. Now, this goosander obviously looks like it's got some intent, and it's obviously looking at something, or it appears to be. And to go along with Colin as well, really nice to see a nice horizontal water plane, because very often you see photographers like it just twists slightly, which just is enough to unbalance the viewing, in my opinion. But so I would go along with this one as well, a good 4.5. Okay, this is me. Yeah, great shot. I mean, I'm into waders. Just, you can't really go wrong in my book with the getting that kind of sort of scalloping pattern on the feathers, as we've got it there. My only minor criticism of this is obviously we lose the impact of the beak as it disappears against the darker seaweed there, and the legs just unfortunately look a bit strange because the sort of the one just looks longer than the other. It's well, because of the seaweed blocking it, but great shot, fantastic light, and I would say a 4, but again a victim of the background not doing it a favor. Yeah,
and I like it very much. I would very much like to have taken a picture like that. I think perhaps to have scored a 5, I would also like the bird to have been just a little bit more around so that I saw more of the body of the bird. But yes, I'm happy with a 4. Right, so this is a little blue heron, isn't it? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I really like this. I'm not sure that Rob reached the same conclusion as me when we first looked at these. And I thought, well, you don't actually have to see the whole bird to have a portrait of a bird, and that, for me, it was a lovely balanced image, and it's absolutely spot on for sharpness, and the colour of the water behind, I think, sets it off really nicely. So 4.5 from me.
Yeah, no, I've definitely come round on this, because when I did my first instinctive pass, which was a rapid flick through, this one didn't stand out. It's a real grower. If the reason it didn't stand out is because it looks like I remember seeing them in the heat of the midday sun when you're sitting on some kind of boardwalk off of Tampa, seeing them just hot and bothered, and so it wasn't for me quite that portrait thing that I was kind of looking for. It just looked like a very hot heron. But the more you look at it, you know, the detail of the feathers are coming down the neck there, and yeah, the beautiful sort of blue of the sea. I'm presuming it's taken in Florida. I'll be very surprised if it wasn't with that color. So yeah, I'm kind of with Colin. I've kind of moved it up from a wasn't sure to yeah, I really like this, so we'll go 4.5 on this as well. Right, so this is me, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah, what again, great shot. This is one that was in and out of my shortlist because of the fact that the tail was just kind of fouling the fence post ever so slightly, and the harsh shadows on the frayed wood at the top of the fence post were kind of taking my eye away from the subtle greens of the bird. I think if that harshness wasn't there, you in the shadows, you'd have a very different composition, because the black on the wings would stand out, and the yellows and greens against the green background would be a subtle challenge for you. So it's a great shot. Again, I will give this a 4.5, just because not quite there up to the top scores, because of the harshness of the shadows detracting away from the bird for me.
Yeah, when I first looked at this, I definitely put this in one of my group of favourites, and it's not far off now. I think it's a lovely image, and I actually do like all those greens in the background, which just set it off very nicely. But that's a 4.5. We're getting more generous. Last year we didn't give halves. So yeah, common loon, great northern diver. Yeah, brilliant, really, isn't it? With a beautiful colour of the water, and a very, very clear image. I mean, to have got that close is must have been quite an achievement. I doubt that was seen anywhere in this country, that's for sure. I think the only thing about it is it's just a bit too big in the frame. It's just you know, it's just bang. It's a picture of a bird, but it doesn't have any context to it really. But you know, super shot, 4.5.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that it's big in the screen, because I'm just loving the contrast of the bird. The contrast of the water is a similar level, and then that red eye really stands out in what is a great graphic design position. And then you've got the slope of the breast coming down, taking you off the pic. Really holds for me. Great patterning. It's got that little bit of character in there, so definitely this was close to being a 5 for me, but being very, very picky. I think it could just have been a little bit more central. I know this kind of negative space thing is a really big thing at the moment, but I think this one, because of the patterns, deserves to be central. You don't need to be saying anything more or getting the picture to do any more. So yeah, I go along with a 4.5. Well, I can't do 0.75, so it'll have to be 4.5.
It took enough of a push to get to the half, Rob.
So yeah, what's not to like about hummingbirds? And again, fantastic shot. I am again just looking at it. It's just that thing with the background, the double leaf coming down behind the bill just detracts from the whole picture. The other leaves you can live with, but it's just that, you know, it just not detracts, it distracts. And so the fantastic violet ear of the violet ear is I keep moving to those that yellow sort of leaf behind, which is a real shame, because otherwise everything else, the point of focus for me is at the head and the iridescence on the breast. It's fantastic. Tail maybe falls away a little bit in terms of the focus. I must admit to having been biased, because one of the most recent projects I've been working on, I've been looking at thousands and thousands of pictures of, well, maybe not thousands, certainly hundreds, pictures of hummingbirds, which are, so I've been very, very spoilt. So again, you can't really go wrong. Great shot, background and tail means that I'm probably gonna, yeah, it's a 4 for me.
Yeah, all I can say about this is that I chose it originally as one of my absolute top choices, and despite what Rob says about those leaves, my eyes always goes to that ear, that beautiful violet ear. So I'm going to step out of line slightly and give this a 5. Right, we need to move along reasonably
Okay.
to get through all these. Now this, hang on a minute, I've even forgotten what this bird is.
The collared flycatcher.
Collared flycatcher, yeah. It's another nice nice portrait image. I'm not keen on its position in its frame. I would have liked it very slightly to the left. I think it's a shame that the land goes up in front of it. If the land was going down, it would look a little bit more natural. It's a tiny bit too big in the frame as well, I think. But a very nice picture. I'd give it a 4.
Yeah, no, I like this one too. Got some real character in there. You know, we typically see our flycatchers in trees. Collared flycatchers are often doing this kind of thing. The color of the lichen, the color of the background, the grey of the rock there, same tonal contrast with the birds, but it's standing out, but it's not. And it's got some character. So for me, I really like this shot. There's a 4.5. Wow. Okay. What's not to like? At first, when I first saw this, I was really taken with it, and I had to reach for my art book and look up Raymond Harris Ching, because this one reminds me of one of his oil paintings. To get the depth of focus just right, every single bird doing something different. The mother kind of benignly sort of looking on, or maybe a little wary eye at the photographer, thinking, have you got a permit for this or something? But the color of the water, this is, for me, it's just so full of character and really ticks all the boxes for me that say portrait. So this was for me a 5.
Yeah, it's amazing how, you know, even the commonest birds, if you saw last year's competition and the carrion crow that won it, I never thought that I would see a day when a carrion crow won a photo competition, but I thought this was brilliant as well, so I gave it a 5. Right, so red-capped plover, you know, I think the only thing that spoils this picture is that dark line that goes right through the middle of the body. the background, and it certainly spoils the image. And I quite like the sand and the ground beneath it, but it's just that dark line that runs through. So I gave that one a 4.
Yeah, and for me, I really like this. I like the blue, dark blue sand. I like the lines there. I think the only thing that distracts away from me quite strongly is the two out of focus. I mean, those little sort of donuts you've got there just below the beak, which really distract again from the quarters, the quarter heights you've got on the 4 lines there. So for me, great shot. Everything's in focus. Just the tiny bit of the little donuts there. So for me, it's a 4.5. And again, I mean, ant pitters, yeah, takes you back to anybody that has been out traipsing through South America at first light, hearing their amazing calls. This is just a classic portrait of an ant pitter doing what ant pitters do. Hopefully not in response to a tape. Hopefully it was crept up upon, but other than that, fantastic. Takes me back to many, many trips. And again, for me, even though there's not a lot of color there's enough color to be interesting. And there's some real character in there. It's a real classic portrait of a classic ant pitter pose. So for me, again, this is the 4.5.
Yeah, I've never seen one of these birds, and so, you know, I don't know what's a normal pose or not. I can't find fault particularly with the image. It simply does not stand out in the same way that some of the others do, and probably I would just say that the background is there's so much of it that the eye does move away from the image of the bird. So that's a 4 from me. Okay, so a jack snipe. What a shame you can't see them bobbing up and down. Yeah, I mean, this great picture, really nice, and obviously that super reflection as well makes it does a lot for the overall image. I think it's really the colour of the background that tends to just stop it being a brilliant picture. You can see there's some nice sky reflection in it, but again, it's just not quite as good as some of the very best. So I'll give that 4, I think.
Yeah, no, for me, I mean, I think the background colours are great. I think it lends itself to the contrast. I just think that the reflection, the sort of the wonky stripes in the water there are just so much fun. The only, you know, pernickety criticism is that I think the tail is maybe slightly out of focus. Artistically, it doesn't matter too much because it enables you to focus more on the head and the reflection, that nice kind of rhombus you've got there between the bills, but because it's a photo competition, because that's slightly out of focus, I'm going to have to give that a 4.5. Fantastic shot. What's not to like? The first time I saw this, it looked great. That it's just so much character there, almost doing a sort of what's that Indian bird, the shamas, that have their tail sticking up like that. That's fabulous shot. Loving the raindrops. Can't really fault it. So for me, this is a classic shot of a classic British bird on a classic British fence post in classic British weather. So for me, that's that. Yeah, this was a 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure this one came out as a 5 in any of our discussions, actually. But
no, maybe it didn't. I can't remember.
But now, having seen it now on this screen, and after looking at the others, I mean, as you say, what's not to like? And the capturing those raindrops really does add something to this image. So I'm going to give that one a 5 as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of the cases where you're allowed, you actually do need the raindrops to be out of focus to give the impression that they're pelting down.
Right, so a great crested grebe. It's a shame really, because great crested grebes are so much photographed, but not everyone gets a reflection quite as almost perfect as that one. It's to my mind, the overall picture is just that tiny bit too dark to show the bird off in its in the best way possible. So I'm going to give that one a 4.
Yeah, again, I like this picture, but then I'm looking at the contrast between the white neck and the black feathers of the back and the cheeks and the crown. The background color is great as well, because it's kind of a muted version of the palette that is the great crested grebe colors. Reflection is great. Yeah, really hard to fault it, other than it's just missing a certain something for me. So again, if you compare that with the blackbird, there's a bit of oomph. I know grebes don't give a great amount of personality a lot of the time, so very harsh perhaps, but it's not quite as good as the blackbird for me, and so it's a 4.5.
Keep going.
Right. Yeah, it's me, isn't it? Yeah, we're on a time limit. What can I say? There we go. A classic shot of a ptarmigan against the snow in, I can't work out which way the molt's going, but it's obviously not full summer and it's not full winter. Great shot. Sunlight is great. Just takes you back to those days when you're up tramping around looking for them. So for me, that is that's a 5.
Yeah, and I can't disagree with that. This was certainly a favourite of all the pictures that we saw, so that's a 5. And finally, this stone chat. At least I think it's finally. Yeah. So again, lovely picture, lovely portrait. It's nice suffused background, and I like the way it's perched up there. And they're such attractive birds anyway. There's very little in this picture that's not to like, so I think I'm going to go for a 4.5.
Yeah, again, pin sharp on the foliage and the bird. If it's going to drop half a mark, which it is, I've given the score away now. Just that lack of the tail disappearing, and you've got no concept of how long that tail is. It plays tricks with me, like it's almost a very short tail that's in front of the pine there. But so yeah, again, great shot photographically, just lacking a tiny bit in the personality zone and missing a bit of tail. So that's a 4.5.
Okay, so that's the end of the portrait section. So Jane is now going to sort the few that
I've done that
10.
already. You just need to
right.
portrait.
You're so clever.
I know.
Right, so we've Rob and I now have to choose between these 3 to find a winner and a runner-up for the portrait section. I'm going to run through these then, Rob.
Yeah.
For everybody, if I can make this thing work. Yeah. So these are the 3 top candidates, and we have to pick a first and a second.
This is just awful, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah, it is. It's particularly awful that I can't make this thing go. Oh, I suppose actually I'm going to have to go backwards on it. Yeah, we've normally made this work better. It's I don't know why it's so difficult this year, but yeah. So the blackbird really has crept in at the last minute.
Yeah, that's a curveball if ever there was one. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm you know, I'm really quite tempted by it, but this one is, I think we were both really very attracted to this one when we first saw it. It's just so unusual to get the four birds all in focus at the same time and all pointing in different directions. So that was one that immediately caught our attention. This one is, I'm going to make you make the first stab here, Rob.
Oh, thanks, because I'm not there to be lynched, am I? So I'm okay.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of people here that can throw stuff at me.
Yeah, for me, I think I've said a couple of times through the process that we've just been through, is that looking for that little bit of extra kind of personality. For me, that mallard family just looks like a classic portrait that says more than just beak and feathers. And now I'm stuck between the blackbird and the ptarmigan, because they're both similarly sort of looking, and they've got some intent and they've got some character. But I think for me, if I'm going to say anything, I mean, I can be overruled, is that the blackbird is such a kind of ordinary bird to some extent, but there's it's captured a really good moment that you occasionally see them doing that pose, but to capture it like that in the rain, I think is yeah, it's crept up and grabbed me, that one. So I don't know what you think, Colin.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm going to go. I'll go with you there. So we're going to make the blackbird the winner.
We're going to go blackbird winner and mallards runner up, are we?
And the yes, go on. Mallards runner up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just need more prizes. That's the trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
So blackbird and mallard.
Yes. Yeah. So what we're going to do now, we'll just have a break for a few minutes while Rob and I prepare ourselves to be a bit quicker on the next
Okay.
on the next batch.
You thought we would have learned by now.
We're not doing too badly. Okay, so we're about to start the flight and action when I finish chewing my cake. So we're plunged into darkness again. Are you there, Rob?
I'm here. Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Great. Okay. So these are the finalists in the flight and action. What we're going to try and do this time is at least tell you what the bird is before we start. So this is a GWE, a great white egret. Yeah, and I like this picture because I like the colour of the background, really, which I think sets it off nicely. It's got a good it's got good detail on the feathers, which are often lost on a white bird, but even at a distance you can see these are well caught. So I think this is worth 4.
Yeah, no, I'd go along with that exactly. Yeah, nothing much to add to that. So we'll go with a 4 on this.
Okay, let's find my mouse again. Okay, Rob.
Okay, so yeah, again, beautiful shot, pretty much pin sharp of a beautiful red rump swallow against the background. As I said before, this one is probably just suffers a little bit because it is a lot of water and not a lot of swallow, and the direction of the water is not being very friendly to the composition. But nonetheless, a great shot, and I will go again a 4 with this.
Yeah. So I reckon someone was standing on a bridge taking this, weren't they? You know, because they're normally seen on the flying underneath the bridges. That's a 4 for me as well. Now, a black-browed albatross. I wonder if this is the one that was in up at where was it?
Finally,
Bempton, wasn't it? Yeah.
around there.
I actually went to see it, but it wasn't there. It's typical. But this is a beautiful bird, isn't it? And I like the position of that in the screen as well, flying in. I know Rob's not so necessarily so keen on this, but I do like a bird that's flying to have space in front of it. Very good image, really, considering it must have been pretty distant. And I think the you know, the suffused waves in the background are nice. But a 4, I think.
Yeah, just photographically for me, it's fantastic. Just positionally, sometimes you can't help it when they got their beaks dipped into their wings and that. So the shape is just a little bit, could be a little bit more interesting, I suppose is the word. So again, yeah, a 4 for me. So this is me. Yeah, fantastic shot of a sword. Is it sword? No, green-fronted lancebill. Yeah, okay, that's not a swordbill. I don't know what I'm talking about there. Green-fronted lancebill. Again, great shot of a hummingbird. I'm probably not the best person to judge these, having been, as I said, looking at hundreds of pictures of images, but photographically, I don't mind the wings being out of focus. It really gives it some energy, but the beak is just unfortunately lost against the branch there. So for me, that's got to drop it down to sort of a 4.
Yeah, I agree. That branch really does spoil it, and I love the wings being out of focus because that shows the sheer speed of them. So 4 from me. Yeah, so I understand this is typical of a lanceolated warbler, that they behave like this. I've never seen one, but it's a fantastic shot of a very amusing shot of a beautiful little bird, and that would be pretty difficult, I think, to better an image of that when it's running like that. And although I didn't score it a 5 before, I think I'm going to score it a 5 now because I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a great shot. It clearly is completely panicked, running between the grassy furrows it normally inhabits, and but what a fantastic shot to capture that. Presumably it's on Shetland or something, running between someone's plant pots. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 5 is it probably should have something, a little cartoon bubble going meep meep out of it or something, because it reminds me of Roadrunner. But no, but yeah, for me this one's grown in value. But yeah, so 4.5 for me. Great. Well, again, fantastic pin sharp shot of a blue-footed booby. You can tell it's a booby because it's a booby, and you can tell it's a blue-footed booby because it's got blue feet. Not a lot I can say photographically about this, apart from that little boy in the background. Well, you know what I mean. You mean the thing in the water, just distracting from what is a fantastic image. This had been cropped square, very, very different position in the image, and it would have been fantastic. So again, 4.5.
Yeah, originally we were very keen on this, but the more you spot that boy, the more it spoils the picture. And do you know, I think it would have probably got a lot further if it had just been cropped with that out of the picture. It would have been so much better. But 4.5 from me as well. So probably the same black-browed albatross, I should think. Look at that, what a fantastic view of those great big long wings. Absolutely brilliant image. I can't really find much fault with this. I just think it's such a shame that the sea looks so murky and dark in the background, and only there being a bit more sunlight reflecting on the water, you know, to brighten the background a bit. I think it's a brilliant shot of the species, really, to show that size of wing. 4.5, I think.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, if you compare this to the albatross shot, which was an interesting but kind of slightly confusing pose, this one really shows it in its majesty. Just maybe pernicketly spoilt by the froth on the bottom of the left wing there, which kind of detracts, but otherwise, yeah, 4.5. Okay, so this is a common buzzard just taking off. For me, this is a fantastic shot. It might not be as the action is almost in the sort of the potential energy that's there, the muscles pushing off and taking flight, the eye focused on something. It's got something of everything for me in this, and it just looks like a great shot. I'm loving the background with the sort of rock in the foreground in focus as well. So this is for me a 5.
Yeah, and I can't come up with anything different about that. I think it's a brilliant photograph, so I give that one a 5 as well. And yeah, I love this too. The cuckoo just coming up there to its perch. I mean, it's such a it's probably a typical cuckoo shot, really, that many people may have seen this sort of image, even if they haven't seen a photograph like it, they've seen the bird do this. I don't think the background takes away from it too much, although the green lines sort of catch the eye a bit. But I do like the sharpness of the perch. I think 4.5.
Yeah, I go along with that, because I think the colours, the sort of greys and the greens, the grey of the cuckoo and the greens and the muted colours of the background are very complementary to make it really stand out. I've seen a lot of these shots. It's virtually impossible to get a shot of a cuckoo landing on a post without having the post in front of the cuckoo, for obvious reasons of physics. So, but that always just kind of just slightly detracts. 4.5 for me. Photographically fantastic, just the post you can't do much about. Yeah, here we have a black-headed gull in winter plumage. Lovely shot. Photographically, it's pin sharp. My only criticism of it would be is that I guess it's taken in the evening, or more likely the evening, I think, looking at that. And so the pinkness of that can sometimes add to a picture. In this case, I think it slightly detracts from it. But yeah, nonetheless, yeah, unfortunately, as you've heard us say before, we have to be fussy in this competition. So it's a 4.5 for me, just because it's a little bit dark.
Yeah, and I don't think it's quite as sharp as you're suggesting. And I think the light actually has taken rather a lot of the contrast in the bird, you know, the black and the white on the bird. So I'd be inclined to go a bit lower, 4. Very nice, typical mallard pose. But for me, this is sort of slightly going uphill. The water looks to me as though the water's going a bit uphill, the line behind it. And so that sort of upsets my sense of equilibrium. But it's a really nice shot and with lots of good example colour of the bird. So 4.
Yeah, again, I would pretty much concur with all of that. As I said earlier in one of the other images, it's so easy just to let that horizon on the water drift a tiny bit, and that 1 or 2 degrees can really throw you and almost give you a sense of vertigo. Photographically great, positionally in the picture great, just the drop of the off horizontal of the water again, yeah, just drops it down to make it a kind of 4.5. No, 4.5 for me. 4.5. Wow, again, it's these blackbirds again, aren't they? Is that obviously one had nicked the other one's umbrella, so from the previous shot. So great shot of a couple of young, I guess it's young blackbirds having a tussle. definitely fulfills the action image. Can't really find much wrong with it photographically. And I think this one has now crept up on me. I've obviously got a blackbird thing going on tonight, so I'll give this a 5.
Oh, please, Rob. Don't make all the prizes for blackbirds. Yeah, this was, again, another one that was not on our original list.
No.
But it does rather catch up on you. So I'll give it a 5 as well. Let's see how we end up. Yeah, so white-tailed tropic bird, I look at, it's fantastic, isn't it, against that wonderful blue sky. I wonder where this was, out in the Bahamas somewhere, or West Indies. Yeah, actually, I think this shot is very, very slightly out of focus, which is a great shame, because I like the angle of the bird in the image as well, which looks really nice. But I can't go more than 3.5 on that, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's just ever so slightly out of focus, which gives us a convenient judging excuse to take away a couple of points from what is otherwise a fantastic shot. So yeah, it's a 4 from me. Fantastic shot. Look at this murmuration with a marsh harrier in there, and yeah, what's not to like? It's a classic shot, and I'm not sure what else I can say about it. It's just, you could spend hours looking at this. I mean, if anybody wants to count them as well, you can spend days looking at it. So really, really hard for me to sort of say anything against that. I'm afraid, Colin, I'm going to put a spanner in the works. I'm going to have to give that, now I'm looking at it again, I'm going to have to give that a 5 because it's a great composition.
Yeah, I knew you'd do this. We have seen this picture before, but that doesn't.
I thought we had, actually. I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it is just such an exceptional image.
But I thought maybe it was the peregrine in the other one, but that's I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to have to sort some winners out at the end. I'll give that 5, and let's push it through to the final judging. Yeah. So a few flying puffins here, and they always make great pictures, don't they? And the colours, you know, always stand out really nicely. So I think it's an excellent image. I'm not sure that enough of it is sharp really to make this an absolutely top image, but it's a nice one. Very nice one. They're positioned nicely, and it's nice to have that sort of jet propulsion at the back of it that sort of shows how they're all sort of pushing along and leaving the water in their wake. I think I'd give that 4.5. Yeah,
I would go along with that for the same reasons, plus one other one, which is a modern problem, is that it almost looks photoshopped even though it's not. So and that's one of the challenges you get with cracking shots these days, is that if they're taken naturally, people do query it. But that aside, yeah, just it not quite sharp in places, so a 4.5, but otherwise a cracking composition. Make a great painting. Right, okay. I mean, a difficult bird to catch in flight, the white throat here. Again, not a lot I can say about it. I mean, obviously very, very difficult. I mean, we can't be too pernickety about a little bit of tail hiding behind some grass, or a little bit of out of focus grass. I'm thinking ahead of the bird, because you can't get everything in place. Photographically great, but just something's lacking. I'm not sure what it is. So for me, it's the kind of 4.5.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think for me, probably it's just the precise central position in the picture, but it's hard to analyse. But I would give it the same score, 4.5. Is that the lot?
We've been too quick now.
you want me to move the one while you
Oh,
talk?
right. Okay. Do you mind just scrolling through? So we've got three potential winners again. It's much easier when we only have two. So
Oh.
I have a feeling that we're both going to go for this one. The buzzard.
Oh yeah, I think yeah, the buzzard for me has just got so much energy in it.
Yeah. This one, of course, I mean, it's a fantastic image, isn't it? And so few people would have been able to catch an image like that. But isn't it a shame that it's so dark and grey? But of course, it's only going to happen late at night, isn't it? Or late in the evening. And I like the angles on the blackbird. What do you reckon, Rob?
Oh, it's so hard. You know, this blackbird thing's now bugging me because I mean I just love the way the beaks are into the shape of the beaks there against the breast is just adds some almost magnetic quality to it. If I had to go for one, again, it's these blackbirds have crept up on me, I think, but the buzzard by far and away has got everything going for it. Marginally the sort of late winner on the blackbird for me, but I'm happy to be educated, Colin.
No, I think I agree with you. It has blackbirds are winning tonight, without doubt. So this is the winner, the buzzard, and the blackbirds here will be the runner-up.
And then that way I feel good because we've got flight and action, haven't we? So
yes, absolutely. Okay, thanks, Joe.
So it was the
Thank
buzzard
you.
and then blackbird.
Yeah. Right. Shall I kick this one off?
go on then, Colin. Yes.
So, yeah, attention to detail. We did get quite a mixture of entries here that because the title of the category can allow you to use your imagination as to what you mean by, or what was meant by attention to detail. So when I looked at this one, I thought, well, hang on a minute, what, you know, is this in the right category? But then when you look at a vast amount of sea, and many of you that have gone sea watching before, the amount of attention to detail you have to pay for every small thing that's out on the water to try and find your rare bird, that's really how this fits, because that's going to be probably 100 meters out somewhere off the beach at Titchwell, and just bobbing up and down behind the waves. And so someone did put a lot of attention to finding this bird and managing a brilliantly sharp photograph. I mean, if we used to have a category, birds in their habitats, and boy, this would fit that one. So I love this one, and so I gave it a 5.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you went first, Colin. Otherwise, I'd have to steal your thunder of explaining why it was attention to detail, because I hadn't thought of it that way. But then you gave me you made me change my mind. Yeah, I totally agree. And again, just from a photographic and graphic point of view, this is one where not having a flat horizon on the water helps, because you can really feel the energy of the waves drawing the water up, with the long-tailed duck looking very much at home. So yeah, I'd go with a 5 on that as well.
We're going to be in trouble again, Rob.
No, we've managed it.
Okay, away with this one.
Okay, this again, what a great attention to detail. It does everything it's asked of the category, with the young great crested grebe being fed, it's being fed a feather there. I don't know what's going on there. But unfortunately, as a photographic competition, clearly taken at great distance. And whilst the attention is on the detail, sadly, it's a tiny bit soft, which from an artistic point of view is not a problem, but from a photographic point of view in a competition, it probably is a little bit short. So for that reason alone, I'll have to give it a 4.
Okay, and yes, I'm the same score. So right, okay, well this is certainly a some detail of a stone chat, and a lovely close up, and it's all very sharp. I think the sad thing about this is it's probably not helped by the bird itself, because it's got such a dark black face, so you lose an awful lot of the detail of the feathering on the face, which I think the only solution to that would be if the light was more directly in front of the bird, but I couldn't go more than the 4 on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I really like this shot. I mean, the shape of the bill is really interesting, and I like the fact that you've actually got to look quite closely to separate it out. But when you do, you see that you know, dinosaur-like gape there is it's fantastic. So I think this is a great shot for the category, and I'd go a little bit higher than Colin and give it a 4.5, with the half point just being dropped because a little bit more contrast in there would probably really just make it ping. Right, well, you can't really go wrong with a mandarin duck or a mandarin drake, I suppose, to be absolutely correct. Even the blob of water on the bill is in focus. The feathering and the detail is great. A nice reflection in the eye when you can actually see the photographer standing there if you look closely enough. So that really is capturing some detail. Can't really fault it at all. Other than, yeah, I don't know what to say, but it just, so there's something about it that just a little bit, I guess maybe it's, if I'm being pernickety again, it's losing that white plume off of the left hand side. So for me, it's close to being absolutely brilliant, but we'll go 4.5.
Yeah, and I think just using this area here, I don't know whether one would normally be able to see the feather detail there, but obviously that's not visible, certainly not on this screen anyway. But I'd go to say 4.5. Yeah, and this is a very interesting view of a kingfisher, and you know, a lot of detail that one normally doesn't see. I mean, it would, when they zoom along low along the river in front of you, you see that flash of blue, but you don't see the line going all the way down the back. So that it's a very nice picture. It's and there is a lot of detail of the bird. I think the picture is spoiled by the background, undoubtedly, although we are obviously judging the detail of the bird here. But I think that I give that 4.5.
Yeah, I go along with that, and I think some of the issue for me is the fact that there's very little, because of the way the light is, shadow or contrast lifting the bird off of the branch that it's obviously just landing on. So without that kind of, you know, drop shadow, for want of a better phrase, there, it looks just a little bit flat, and that's what kind of detracts ever so slightly. So 4.5. Okay, this is if you're looking for attention to detail, this is it. There's probably what a couple of, in old money, a couple of square inches of a mallard, but really focusing on that speculum, picking up the purples and blues and turquoises in there. Fantastic composition for me, looking at it as a graphic designer. You've kind of got all sorts of decent golden triangles and bits and pieces going on in there. So I really think this is a great shot. And actually looking at underneath the kind of primary coverts there and into the primaries, you've got that line of shadow which just lifts it a little bit more, which that was lacking on the kingfisher because of the angle of the light. So for me, great shot, so much going on there, love it a bits. That's a 5.
Yeah, we both thought this was a 5 to start with. So that goes forward to the final judgment. Yeah, Dunlim, this is great shot really, because you don't always, well, of course, many people know about the black spots on the belly of the dunlin, but you don't often see them as clearly as that. I'm not sure I've ever seen a dunlin photo with such beautiful, clean, clear spots. I think pretty well every feather is in detail. I like the background and I like the foreground of the image as well. But it's certainly got an awful lot of detail on that. And again, this is one that's sort of grown on me a bit the more I've seen it. So I'm inclined to give this 5.
Oh,
Sorry.
you're getting back. Yeah, no, it's grown on me too. And again, I can't really pick any holes in it. I mean, if I'm going to say the algae at the front is slightly out of focus, then that's clearly just, we're really looking for issues here. No, great shot. I think we're going to have to give it a 5 as well. And yes, spend a little bit more time in a few minutes looking at those. Again, yeah, this attention to detail, we've got a recurring theme here of people zooming close up onto, kind of what I would say iconic classic photography birds. Fascinating shot of a pheasant. You can really, really see the detail there. So it does everything its arse off in the category. It's, I don't know, it's just a little bit, just fades away a little bit in the background. So it almost looks like, again, that the pheasant has, like, those fairground backdrops that you stick your head through and take a photograph of, because the rest of the body is slightly out of focus. It looks like it's sticking its head through an end of a pier thing. I know that sounds really, really harsh, because I don't mean to sort of pick holes in what is a great shot like that, but I guess I'm just trying to explain why it's not a 5 and kind of comes in at a 4.5 for me.
Okay, well, you got me out of a hole there, Rob, because I'll go along with that, 4.5. Now this is great, isn't it? These southern gannets, I think I must have seen these in Australia, is that right? Are they the same as the Australian gannet? I don't know. But they're similar to our gannets anyway. But this is a really, really lovely shot. And when I was talking to Rob, I'll steal his thunder now, but he pointed out this malar stripe.
Gular stripe.
Gular stripe. And you wouldn't normally see that, the stripe down the throat. But to have it in such perfect detail is great to see. And the whole image, actually, to see the back of the head and to see the front and the throat. So I have to give that a 5.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, again, this is another interpretation of attention to detail. You're dealing with an identification detail here, and showing it superbly well. So I'll go along that. For me, on that basis, it's a 5 as well. Okay, we have here another great northern diver, or the same great northern diver, I don't know. Comparing it with the other great northern diver, this is what we're up against. This is in a different category. There's plenty of detail there, but I think it's just a little bit fuzzy, out of focus, and I kind of find myself not quite knowing where to look on the picture. So not only because it's not as compelling as the others it's up against in this difficult to judge category. I would give this a 4.
Yeah, I'm the same. So here we've got obviously a number of snipe doing the job that they do so well, which is hiding in there amongst all the sedges and marsh plants, when you do your bird watching, you do have to pay a lot of attention to these areas to try and find these birds. You can be looking for ages before you actually spot one, and then when you find one, you find 4 or 5. So it's a lovely image. It's a shame, you know, this one on the left, which is quite an important one, really, in terms of the size of the picture, is not really in focus, so you can't see much of it. But I think I would give that a 4.
Yeah, I would go along with that as well for exactly the reasons that you've displayed there. Although I would point out, I kind of quite like, I saw the attention to detail part of this more actually with the right-hand bird's tail feathers being in great view, so you can actually fully identify it. But because of that, the big lad on the, or girl on the left there is, yeah, we go for a 4 as well. Yeah, this one is, again, a slow burner. I wasn't so sure on it, but it's just because it's slightly cryptic, you know, you maybe don't give the credibility or sorry, credibility, you give credence to the belief that birds such as albatrosses actually use camouflage. But I did a bit of reading, and the youngsters often do bury themselves down in the vegetation to sort of stay safe and hidden from view. So there is some detail here, and where the back and the nape feathering just merges into the foliage means you've kind of got to look at this. And actually the fact the beak is against and the head is against the rock means it's fascinating. It could almost be part of the rock. So this one's really grown on me, and so it's yeah, I would say a 5 just because I'm fascinated by it. Maybe if I'm being pernickety, might have been cropped a little bit less, but I'm not, on balance, I don't think it needs to be cropped any less, because then you would focus too much on the bird. And right now it's kind of quite hard to see, and is a fun picture to look at.
Yeah, well, this was always one of my favourites, and I know when you started looking at it, Rob, you certainly didn't identify it as one of yours, but yeah, I like this one a lot. So let's call this one a 5 as well. Yeah, well, these are always our moments, aren't they? Who are our moments? It's very sweet. I suppose the great thing about this image is that all the detail of those white feathers, which is so hard to capture. You know, usually there's either too much light and it gets washed out, or the whole picture is too dark. But it's I like it a lot, but it's not as much as some of the others. So 4.5.
Yeah, I like this one a lot, and I think that you know, there should be a word of commendation for the cropping and composition as well there, because it's again, it's using some classic photography and graphic design lines that make it a very compelling picture. So yeah, I would like to give it a 5 because of that.
That's it, right? Okay.
Have we been too quick now?
No. So
5,
we're doing all right.
5 to choose
We're
from.
told we've got 5 to choose from.
Yes.
Oh no.
Oh, crikey. We've been too generous. Not like us.
Right, I should put 1, 2.
You can have first stab, Rob.
Well, I reckon that the mallard speculum just stands out for me. It's just a great sort of semi-abstract shot. So much texture in that there. So I think that stands out from the runner-up. Yeah, so it stands out as the winner. As the runner-up, I really don't know. I could just say I've got a problem with my Zoom connection and let you deal with it, but I wouldn't do that. But I think for me, I just, knowing how long I've spent trying to sort of see goulard stripes on what was known as Cape Gannet, is now Southern Gannet. Again, that detail for me as a publisher, when you're trying to look for something to sort of show an ID feature, that's a great shot showing the detail. So it's between that and the albatross, and I don't know, because the albatross is growing on me, because it's just so fun. But if I had to pin something, I would go for the gannet as a second place. But again, Colin, I'll listen to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would go for the mallard as number one though. That's
Okay.
the my problem. I quite liked it, but it does, to me, it's looking at the size of that image, it looks as though it has been sort of cut and cropped and you know, down to its ultimate degree, really. And I like the I like this one a lot. But the I would go for this as the winner, actually. I mean, I like that one very much, and I would like this one as the runner-up. That's my choice. Can we reach any kind of?
Yeah, well, we both have the gannets there, don't we? But yeah, and the long-tailed duck is, I mean, it's just so hard. It's just not fair when it comes to things like this.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the.
Yeah, but at least you can gauge the sort of the wrath of the audience, so that you're probably in a better position.
Well, most are at home.
Right. Let's go gannet and
Mallard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy with that. I'm more than happy with that, because I just think that, yeah.
Okay, sorry everybody, but it has to be subjective in the end.
Yeah, it's
everyone will make their own choices.
It's the gannet and then the mallard.
Yeah. Okay, so what we will do now is we're going to run through the three winners. And you as the audience are now going to be able to make your choices to the winner of the of this incredibly valuable item. I had an armed guard to bring tonight, but it was rolling around in the back of my car, actually.
So this is for the Gordon Lansbury Trophy, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I can't see.
So these are the three category winners, and so we're going to ask you to show how are we doing this, Chris? What do they have to do?
Good question. I've got a poll on Zoom I can do for those watching on Zoom.
And we'll do hands in here.
Yeah, we can count hands here.
So shall I launch the poll?
Yeah. So it's the buzzard.
Yeah. So can I ask the audience then to raise your hand if you like the buzzard? If you like the buzzard as the best image. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, I think.
Oh, gosh,
right. And who likes the gannets? 1, 2, 3. I think we reached a conclusion here. And who's for the blackbird? Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, well, we're going to add you to the online poll.
They're not all in yet.
No?
Show those again. So let me just write
Yeah.
it down. So buzzard was 8.
Yeah.
The gannet was 3.
3, I think. Yeah.
And the blackbird was 9. Is that right?
No, it was 7.
See, it's one I like best.
Yeah. It was 7, Jane. Stop cheating. So for all the pictures, actually I suppose those watching have heard how we voted in the room now, but not that much is too much. Yeah, for all those here anyway, hopefully at least the 3 winners are pictures you like. But every time everyone goes away and says, oh, I can't understand why so-and-so won it, didn't win it. My favourite didn't win.
There are 3 who haven't voted, but I think you can say that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Close, I think. One last chance. I'll type that in.
Yeah, well, what one that hasn't voted is me. So yeah, that's.
And well, one will probably be me, and one will be Robert. In fact, now we've got too many. That's fine. I'll end.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah. Okay. We've got 12 for the blackbird, 8 for the buzzard, and 5 for the gander.
Which makes the blackbird the winner, I think.
Yeah, I told you, Colin. I told you.
Yeah, yeah. Came up on the rails.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's great. So can we? Can we? Is the person who?
No, I don't think so. Do you want,
No.
if I give you,
Okay.
do you want to say who the?
Yes, I think we could do that. Oh,
So, portrait, the winner was.
Brian Winter. Yeah. Okay.
So for portrait, the winner with the blackbird is Brian Winter. Should you say that?
Yeah. Oh, we've got light now, so at least people can see.
And the mallard, which came second, was by Brian Winter.
Oh, good Lord, no.
And in flight and action, the buzzard winner was by Brian Winter. And the blackbird, which came second, was David Massey. And in attention to detail, the gannet, which won, was Brian Winters. And the mallard was Mike Taylor's. So, so Brian's done very, very well.
Yes, yeah.
And obviously, as all 3 finalists were his, he's won the.
Is Brian? Do we know
if
if Brian is watching? Sure. Brian has won this trophy on several occasions before.
Well done, Brian. So actually,
I'm here, Colin.
oh,
Yeah,
well done,
yeah.
well done, you.
Okay, well, congratulations, Brian. We want all this money back. I think you'll be taking the cup permanently soon. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a great shot. Anyway, and how you came up on the rails, I don't know, but we didn't know you were involved.
No, I was the only person who knew who had taken each photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. So now what we're going to do is to try and pick someone as a winner of a prize that we've never done this one before. But we're having a prize for someone, the best picture for someone who's never won before. And this was quite difficult for us to handle because we didn't know until after all these who hadn't won before, or you know, tonight's voting could well have changed all of that. So is this the correct set now?
It is.
Yeah.
To go through them all.
Okay. No, I'm okay. I think I'm getting a nice backache. It's very pleasant. So Rob, we've got to choose from these. I'll just run through them. There's rather more than I was expecting, to be honest. We did choose.
What's going to be embarrassing now is if we choose one that we voted down less than.
Yeah, we don't have the scores for the ones we dismissed, do we? No.
Well, I can,
No.
I can, but it would take
Well,
quite
actually,
a while.
I think it won't be that difficult because some of these, some of these we obviously did.
Yeah.
Because we liked a lot. So I think we can. So it's probably going to be between this one. That's a lovely picture too. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Rob.
Yeah, no, I think you're on the right lines.
So it's either going to be that one, perhaps that one. Although I wasn't. This one maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've got them all up as a light box on my other large computer screen here. So, which is why, for anybody who's been wondering why I keep looking off to the right, it's I've got them on a big screen here. Yeah, looking at them all together as a light box. Ptarmigan is strong. Signet is strong. Yeah, and that egret's quite nice as well, isn't it? That's
Yeah. I mean, if I were on the spot to pick just one out of all these, my choice would be between the ptarmigan and the albatross, the chick.
Yeah.
But this one is actually it is a very attractive image. Do you think we could give it to this one?
I think so. That's the one that we're kind of most settled on between us, isn't it?
Yeah.
One we both mentioned. So.
Okay, so we will declare this one the winner of the what was the expression we used?
Previously non-winners, I suppose.
Yeah, we had a not previously placed, was it?
That's
or
right.
something like that.
This picture is by Ian Sylvester.
Okay, is Ian here or no? Is Ian on Zoom? Speak or forever hold your peace.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, well, congratulations and thank you for submitting your photograph, and if you submitted more, thank you for those as well.
It took many hours of walking to find it.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where was it? Cairngorms or?
Yeah, at the almost at the edge of the snow line on the Mount Cairngorm.
Right. Yeah.
And it took about 2 hours to actually find it once we'd walked up there on a very cold day. But it was very obliging and sat around.
It's the only place I've ever seen a ptarmigan, I have to admit.
Yeah.
And that was many years ago.
So
but
kind of hard work and lucky.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. The ladies have bought a prize for you, a Kakapo wine from.
Cheers.
Yeah, which should be very pleasant if we can get that to you. Where do you live?
Near in Dorney Reach.
Oh right, well, not too far away. I'm sure we'll manage to get that to you at some point. But thank you very much for your interest. Thank you everybody who's submitted pictures tonight. Perhaps you'll join me in thanking all the photographers for what they've done. So I'll just hand back to Robert now. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been a wonderful evening. I'd just like to thank everyone who's been involved with it. First of all, it's been great to have such a large number of photos submitted. Thank you too for Jane and for Colin for their organisation. It's gone very smoothly once we got the link sorted out. There was someone else. Congratulations to the winners, and thank you too for Colin and Rob, the judges. I mean, it's an incredibly difficult thing, I think, to stand up and give your opinions on the spot, not always agreeing with the other judge. So really appreciate that. Being a judge is a thankless job, but we will thank them nevertheless. So please unmute yourself and. Yes, the other thing is that the prizes are courtesy of the London Camera Exchange. So when you're looking for new optics, cameras, do pay them a visit. They're in the centre of Reading, and mention the club and you may get yourself a good discount. Thank you.